One of the best ways to enhance your live stream are to add lower thirds and graphics for your stream, kind of like how I'm doing on this one, so that it engages your audience. It gives information that you want to call out and let people know. So, I come from a church standpoint, so maybe you're loving the message going on and you need to know who is actually talking. You can do that. Or if you're referencing a scripture, you could do something like that, or you want to give information on the church's address, ways to give, the church website, any events that are going on, any call outs. That's what lower thirds are for. Now, we've covered tons and tons of videos on how to make this yourself, but this video is sponsored by Uno Overlays. This is a service that you can use part of it as free, but the paid version gives you access to a whole bunch of pre-made lower thirds that you can just add your information to. You ain't got to worry about the designing. All you got to do is put the name in and integrate it, and then you can tie it into your video switcher. If you're using software streaming like OBS, vMix, you can add any of that way. And then even on some of the paid ones, you can integrate it with pulling data from a spreadsheet. So let's go ahead and just take a look at what you get and what Uno Overlays actually is. So again, I want to thank Uno Overlays. They actually gave me access to their account and I've been playing around with it before. I wanted to give you a deep dive on what they offer with their services. So inside of here, once you log in, they have a library here that shows a whole bunch of options that you have. So let me crank up the font a little bit so it's easier to read. So we have different types here. So we can do baseline ones to where they sit all the way at the bottom. So one thing, let me do this real quick. A lot of times people are like, what is the lower third? So if I take my screen like right now, and I split it into thirds, as you can see, we have this top third, a middle third, and the lower third. That's what lower thirds are. It just means that graphics that take up the lower third part of the screen. So anyway, back to that. This will actually let your graphic sit at the very bottom of the screen, the bottom of your lower third. So it actually hugs the very bottom of your video. So you got a bunch of options for this. Now, I've used lower thirds when I was doing sporting events. That's if you watch sports. I'm not a sports person, but if you watch basketball, football, whatever, that's where the score is. The score is on the lower third, or sometimes I've seen them do on the top third. But you can have options like that. You can use a ticker that scrolls text if you want. So again, think about ways to give, the church information. You can do something like that. They have other ones that kind of follow sports themes. And again, you don't have to change and make any of this. It's already made for you. So we got a bunch of those with baselines, and we'll play around with some of these as well. Now, we also have a bug. A bug is just a graphic that just sits there. So, imagine kind of like the bug that I have here in YouTube that has my logo in the lower right-hand corner. That's added as YouTube, but you can do other bugs like live feed or something like that, subscribe, anything like that. And there's you can do scoreboards like that as well too. So we have our regular subscribe button here. You got your not lawn bowling, but you got ones like that, scoreboards and things like that that you can do that just sit. They also offer full screen ones. So like if you want to do a recap during a break in the quarter or during halftime or something like that. Like I used to do things like this that I made by hand. I wish I knew about them long time ago when I was doing this by hand, but you can have this and have a full screen and have the two teams go up there. You can do the list of the players, a lot of stuff that you can do. That they offer. And again, they're already pre-made. You just got to add the information, and we'll dive into what these look like. You have some image image loops. So if you want to have a graphic that's always going up, you can think about the church logo or something like that. You could do that. Merch, as they have as an option here. Then you got your classic lower third, where some of these look like they overlay, so they could be in the same kind of like type, but they'll still do the same thing. You have your classic with your names and things like that. And we were actually going to use this originally for our conference this year, but just got out of hand with logistics, but we might try and integrate this more next year. So those are our types, and then you also have some packages where it kind of has a lump of all of these kind of combined together. So like saying you're doing news, or like me personally thinking about doing a Bible study, you can add stuff like this as well too. And then we got some more. Then you got panels so that you can put information. So like your QR codes and things like that, you can put up. So a lot of great options that you don't have to make. You can just pick the ones you want. Now, if that doesn't work for you, you can always break it down into your functions so you can see exactly like what do you want it to do. Oh, I want this to be a live one. So again, you can put your time, you can put just a live bug, you can put your subscribe notification, a bunch of things like that. You also have some countdown, so you can use that as your option for your live stream. You can have that as one and it will integrate. So that's really cool. Talking points. So if you have bullet points, if you're doing like a Bible study, or if your pastor is doing some stuff and it has bullet points over the sermon, he or she are having points over their sermon, you could do something like that. Matchups, we've already kind of covered. And then you have categories to kind of filter that. Your theme, do you want something standard, champion, bold? So they have a lot of filters for you to find what you're looking for. The layout, do you want it in landscape? I always do my stuff in landscape. Portrait, so you could have it if you're doing Instagram, Reels, Shorts, and anything like that. So that is an option for you as well too. And you can do it in square, but it doesn't look like they have one in square. So that looks like this might be something that they're adding in the future. Now the other thing is they have data sources, which is again, I think is awesome. So you can actually get ones that say you have a Google Sheet. You can have now it looks like they have these ones for like images, and you have like player lower third. So like if you're doing sports, or let's do this one. So this one you can pull and have a spreadsheet that will link to that, and it will pull that automatically. So now you can set up the spreadsheet separately, have this feed your lower third, and then that's it. So again, imagine you have talking points, you got presentations, and people have bullet points. You can feed this in here. You can do that, or you have speakers and you have them in the order they're going to be speaking. And instead of you manually typing it out, you can just drive it from your Google Sheet. So again, awesome stuff. You can do manual pulls. You can do National Weather Service, which I think is kind of cool. Um, so you can pulsoid. So it looks like that's pulling from like blood monitors or something. Okay. And then you can do a classic RSS feed to feed that information. And what other options are there? Scoreboard. So using other systems that give you scoring and things like that, stream charts. Um, and then you can hook up to a weather API to pull local weather. So I think that's really cool. So let's go ahead and take a deep dive on setting up one of these things. So let's get some classics here. I actually have some already that I have selected, and let me log in real quick. All right. So once you pick something that you like, let's go back to our library again. And let's look back at that Google Sheets one. So say I like this one. I want to add this to my overlays of the group of ones that I'm using. We'll add that there, and let's look at some other ones. Let's do a baseline one. We got to uncheck this because that's not a driven one by Google Sheets. And let's do an on-air news one. Let's also do a countdown one. I like this one. And let's do some talking points. See, I wanted the talking points to be driven by Google Sheets, but it doesn't look like they have one for that. So let's do this one as well. All right, so now that we've added them, we're going to go now to my overlays. And this is where we got them. Now, if we dive into this, let's go here and let's open it. And it's going to give you some outputs. So this is a web page. So on OBS, Ecamm Live, vMix, you would just add a source as a browser source, and that makes this really easy to do. So, and then you have options on how it can be controlled and all that other fun stuff. Now, they also have integrations with a stream deck. So the consoles that I have like right here in front of me, something like, well, let's unplug this so y'all can see it. So one of these stream decks and stuff like that, you can integrate with these. So these will, once you program your lower thirds, you can just hit this button and then it will just engage for you. So say that you have this for your church, but you don't, you got some volunteers that don't need to know the details of it. You can pre-program it with your ministerial staff, different events, information, and it's just a button press for them. And that can be engaged in any of your streaming softwares. But I'm also going to show you how you can integrate that inside if you're using a hardware switcher like any of the Go Streams, the AVCans ones, the ATEMs, anything like that, that will still work as well too. Let's cut back over here. So in here, you can set your time and everything like that. You can give you a message. So you can say countdown end message. Do you want to show something when it's over? So say service will start shortly. So say that you run the countdown and something's long-winded. So you can do that if you want to. But if you always end on time, then they won't see that message. So you can set the hours. I definitely wouldn't want to do hours, but I guess you could. But say you want to do a 15 minutes before service starts. I don't want any seconds and I don't want any hours. So you got your countdown there. If we go to customize, you can set your background. You can set your own image in here if you wanted to. So let's see. Can we add an image? Let me find something easy. So we can go here to this link where we can upload an image. Let me see if I can grab one real quick. So I'll add this one as my background. There we go. Let's refresh it real quick. And so we can pick that as our background and boom, very simple. So you can do a church logo, anything like that. Now, we can be fancy. We can put no image there and have it sent transparently, and then you can put something else, but we'll talk about that later. But you can set up anything like that. And then if we go to our output, let's go ahead and copy the URL because like I said, it's a web page. If we paste it, there's our background. All right. That's how everything would show up. And you know what? Let me open up OBS so we can actually give you an example of this in real time. But like I said, this is where you could set the background if you wanted to. And if you don't put an image, it would just go transparent for you. All right. So say we're inside of here in OBS. We're going to add a browser source. And we will put the size here. I'm going to do 1920 by 1080. And we'll put our URL there. And boom, there we go. That's integrated and we'll make that as a source. So we've already got that. And now we have controls as well. So do we want to actually start the countdown and all this other stuff like that? So we hit play and I'm going to slide this over so you can actually see both of these at the same time. There's actually a URL that would give you nothing but the controls that you could integrate this so you can make it a lot simpler. So I'm going to do this so I can have these side by side. And let's get rid of this one for right now. So we hit play on the controls. And boom, it sends the command because it's nothing but a web page. And now our countdown is starting. Very, very simple. All right, so let's look at some other ones that we got. All right, so we've done that. Let's look at our talking points. Let's open that one up. So in here, you would add your notes and everything like that. So we can say Q&A. And today is the 7th. So if I wanted to put there a subtitle, if you wanted to, let's say Q&A topics or something like that, or Bible study, something like that. And we can talk about, tabernacle layout, roles and responsibilities. Did I spell that right? No, I didn't. Colors, dimensions, service flow. I'm just making up stuff. So, do we want to do a topic reveal, active topic, so we can have some more controls over that? So you add them there. We're going to copy that output as well, and we'll go. Let's add another browser source here for right now, and let's do the dimensions the same way. 1920 by 1080 because that's my layout. All right, so there we go, right there. Now let's put these side by side because we want the control layout again. So we copy that. So in here, say we want to do a topic reveal. We can turn that off. So that would make it fade in and out. We only have it turned on when we want it to be used. We can turn it on. And actually, it allows you to do what topic. So say we're on topic number 1 and see it only shows that item. And you're ready to move to topic number 2. It could do it that way. Now, personally, I would like it that it didn't show all of them, but it's good that it's grayed out. You could do that and go through each one sequentially, or if you have 0, it shows all of them. Awesome feature that you can have. And like I said, all of this can be controlled from your stream deck if you have something like that, or you can have this web page. Now, because it's a web page, say your speaker can have this on their phone. And then they can just control their talking points as well too. So it does give some more freedom if you have a speaker that wants to actually drive that themselves. All right. Let's go look at some other ones that we got. So we did that. We have our news feeds. We have our stats. Let's do a classic lower third. Which one? All right, we'll do this one. So in this one, this is similar to what I was actually setting up for. And actually, if you saw my video where we talk about setting up an exercise class, this is actually what I use to show how to do this. So you can come in here and make multiple ones. So say you have multiple speakers, and let's actually go back and make these from scratch. All right, let's go ahead and delete these. Let's go ahead and all right, we can't delete the last one. So say we want this, what's the header? And we'll say, so I don't know, senior pastor, something like that, right? And do you want to do an intro alert? No, I don't want to do that. So we got one. If we just play it, boom. I might want to do that in reverse, and I should have paid attention where it said header. There we go. So you can do something like that in the same way. We go to our output, copy that URL, and I'll just overwrite this one here, put that there, and boom, there we go. There's our lower third, already integrated into our stuff. So all of these work the exact same way. Now let's play around with our Google Sheets one, if I remember which one that was. And I think I lost it. Oh, there it is. The logo right there. Let's go ahead and open that one up. So with this one, you're going to have to integrate this and give it permissions or give it the spreadsheet. You're going to have to connect to a spreadsheet for that to be done. So let me see if I can do that real quick. I think I have a sheet that I can use probably from the conference. Oh, it's actually asking to make one. So we'll make a copy of it. And it kind of good. It gives you a template on how everything needs to be worked out. All right. So we got, it's a lot of stuff I'm not going to use. So positions, last name, and all this other stuff like that. So I guess that all dependent on, well, this is a stats lowest third. So that makes sense. Get add-ons, and we're looking for search for a singular live. All right, let's go ahead and install that. All right, so that's done. And there we go. Open sidebar. And there's the token. So we're going to link this. All right, so it's been copied. We get our token right there. All right, so that's there. Data range. All right, we got to include the header with that. Just reading from here. There we go. So we should be good to go now. And boom, there it goes. It pulled everything over here. And the same way, if we copy that URL, all right, so we got everything linked up, and now we can do our controls here. And there's our stats, and we can go through and go to the next one. So for teams and everything like that, really, really cool. So now for the ones that have logos and things like that, a lot of the ones you're seeing me use, that's under the paid version. They do have options that are free that you can use for lower thirds, but you can't really change any of the settings. So whatever colors that you have, that's what you got. But with the paid version, this is where you can change more details, the color of the layout. You can turn your logo on and off. You can set up that information and things like that. So but that gives you a lot of access to get and make changes to your stuff. So if you wanted to have something like that, really cool option for you. So now that we've shown you how all this other stuff and you can, make your lower thirds have all that stuff going. I've already showed you how to do that in OBS. That's the same thing that's going to be with Ecamm Live. And that would be the same thing that you would do with any of your other streaming software. But how do you integrate this? Well, actually, hold on. Yeah. How do you integrate this with your video switcher? Now, honestly, this would be very straightforward. So let's go back here and copy over our output for our countdown again, right? And let's open up our presenter software. And presenter and ProPresenter is kind of the same way. It's just as easy. All we're going to do is we're going to add this as a web source. Let's turn the output off. So say we come in here, we're going to make a new slide. And what are we going to use? We're not going to put anything in the foreground. We're going to use this as the background. And we're just going to do web page and just paste that URL there. So now when I launch this, and I need to move this because this is my output screen so that y'all can see. Let's turn this on. And I kind of need to move this so I can get the controls so I can actually start it. So if I come in here into the controls and we're looking at the output, and there we go. I actually didn't have the first H in the URL because I was like, what? Why is it not showing up? But anyway, in the same controls, you would set this, put this inside your presentation software as a web page, and boom, there you go. Your presentation software is being fed into my video switcher. That's how you're able to see that. So that could work that way. But say you don't have anything like that, how could you still integrate this into your ATEM? You would still need to do something similar because video switcher like the ATEM. Now, some of the other ones we've done, like the Duet 8 ISO, it has an option that you can put a web page in. So you don't have to worry about that. You just copy the URL. You're good with those. But if you have anything else, you would just have your laptop and just pull up a browser and just drag it over. That's the easiest way to integrate that. Now, let's go ahead and cut back over here to my desktop and let's close this all out. And let's look at the Stream Deck and how we can integrate all of this stuff to make it very easy. So they have a plugin that you would search for Uno overlays, and I've already had that installed. And let's make a new profile here. So now what we're going to do is integrate all of this with using our Stream Deck to actually integrate and actually launch these. So I'm going to put these side by side so I don't not mess this up. So we're going to add a control for each one. So we got our stats window. Let's call this stats. And we're going to copy our token, paste it there. And what are we going to do? We're going to show, let's toggle the visibility so we can just turn it on and off. That will be that function. All right. And now let's copy our output. And we're going to add this to OBS browser. We'll call this one stats so that we can sort all of these out properly. And I'll make it in a, let's do it full screen, 1920, 1080. All right, so there's our stats one. Now let's add our next one here. Our next one is going to be our lower thirds. So let's go ahead and copy that token, add a new control. Let's say lower thirds. Put our token there. That is the lower third. What is our action? We are just going to toggle that. So on and off when you press the button. And now we copy the output. Go back to OBS. Another browser. And I'll just call that lower 3. Then the dimensions, because I want it to take up the full size of the screen. All right, so you can see that one is already there. All right, and then our last one, we're going to do our countdown. So let's copy that, move it over, countdown, paste our code there. It links up. We're going to toggle that. And I need to reset the counter so that that will work. And we're going to copy the output, go back to OBS. And then this will be our countdown browser. Paste URL, put your dimensions, and boom, there we go. So now everything is set up. If I press number 3, there's our countdown. Now I could have it integrated to where when I press the button that it will start it, but again, I don't have my countdown started. We'll just play that for right now, but you can make a button that will do that as well too. All right, so if we press it again, that would hide it. All I'm doing is pressing the button on my Stream Deck. Boom, we got it revealed and the timer's still going. If you had another control to stop the time, that would work. So let's do that real quick, just so you can see it. Let's put this to the side. Let's make sure we copy that token again. And let's give ourselves some more buttons here for our countdown. We have a start, a stop. Let's do a reset. So we'll see. This one is reset. What do we want it to do? I want it to reset timer. That's what that's going to do. This will be stop. Put the code there. We're going to, well, it doesn't say stop. It says pause. So we'll just rename that pause. And then this will be our start. So again, depending on what overlay you're using, that gives you the controls that you have. All right, so we got that as start. And I'm just going to have it played right now. So I have my extra controls here. Let's go back over here to OBS. So as you can see, I will hit pause. And see, the time is not going. Let's reset it. It should go back to 15 minutes. There we go. We can hit start. And now we've started again. So there we go. So and now we hit the button and that will actually hide it. Now let's do our overlays. We only have one. So that's going to reveal that. If we had more, we would have another control to say, do you want to go to the next one? All right. So you can just turn that off. And then let's go to stats. And I think this one actually has some more controls too, but I don't have it pointing there. Let's go back and let's see. All right, it was just going to be stuck on them before, but that's fine because we didn't have a button set up just like with our countdown to go to the next stat or back up. So there we go. So we can just hide it or bring it up. Let's go back to our lower thirds, turn that one off, go back to our timer. Really, really cool that you can do that. Now, with these same controls, if this was running through Presenter, the same thing would work. So if we bring back Presenter and I do that timer, see, it's right there. So I can still, using my Stream Deck, I'm pausing the timer. I'm gonna reset it and I can start it. Again, it's a web page, which makes it really awesome and very flexible and easy to use. So you can integrate it with anything for the most part. So let's look at the cost of this if you're looking at getting this. So let's go to our pricing. Again, you're talking about right now they got a deal. It's $3 a month. But right now you can get it for $2 a month. You can have all the bells and whistles for $24 for the whole year. So that is a worthwhile investment just for you to play around with that if you really wanted to. So again, I want to thank Uno Overlays so much for allowing me to be able to put this together. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to just show everybody y'all's great features. Keep it up. And let me know, folks, if y'all are using it, what other stuff, because I'm sure they have an ear listening to what their clients are doing to enhance their services and features. Especially, I know a couple of churches that are already using it, but I want to bring it to y'all's attention as well. So I don't know how long I'm going to have access to this, but if you have any other questions, things you want me to test out, leave them down below. I'll get to them as best as I possibly can. And I think that's about it. So if you like this type of content, appreciate a like, consider subscribing, hit that bell. That way you get notified when we come out with other videos to help modernize your media ministry. Thanks for watching, folks. This is AJ. Catch you on the next video. Later.